Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be talking about the 2019 DC film known as Joker. I want to explain why I'm not really such a huge fan of this movie. Now, Joker is definitely not a bad movie. It has a lot of aspects that I'm a huge fan of. Its incredible acting and amazing cinematography definitely makes this a well-made movie. Now, writing-wise, it's definitely not such a great movie, and there's a few reasons for that. For starters, I don't really think this film is such a great Joker movie. Now, I'm aware that different characters in multiple different comic book movies have been depicted differently than how they are originally, but even then, I feel like there was at least some essence of the original character, no matter how they were depicted overall. Joker has always been such a straight-up, evil, mischievous character, but he never really feels like that in this movie. Now, it's completely your opinion if you like this depiction of the character or not, but you have to agree that this is really not the Joker that we know and love. And that's a really huge problem because this movie is trying to market itself as a Joker character study, and well, this character never really feels like he's the Joker. Now, I'm not 100% familiar with the original comics, so I don't really know how much of this is actually from that, but I'm just going to assume that a lot of it was at least made up. Again, I'm not totally against doing your own thing, but if you want to make a Joker movie, I at least feel like the character that we're seeing should at least be somewhat like the Joker. And I feel like the movie realizes that because it sometimes makes really desperate attempts to try to connect itself to the DC universe that just ends up feeling somewhat out of place, and it just feels like it's just shoved into the story for absolutely no reason. I also feel like Arthur actually becoming the Joker could have been set up a lot better. I mean, it is set up well that he was poorly mistreated by society, but it was never really set up that he had any intentions of killing people. That's why this scene on the subway just seems sort of out of nowhere and not really set up for his character. He didn't even seem like he even wanted the gun originally in the first place, so why would he suddenly use the gun to kill someone? Towards the end of the film, we're supposed to resonate with Arthur and understand where he's coming from and why he's the way that he is, but I just feel like it's not really set up all that well. Arthur isn't really a villain. He doesn't really have any bad intentions up until the subway scene. I guess you can understand why anyone would do what Arthur did, but with the context of Arthur's character, it really doesn't make much sense. I also find it really ridiculous how this one subway murder started all these riots across the city. Yeah, this movie is trying to say something about the rich and the poor, but I feel like it doesn't really do such a good job at establishing that as its theme. I mean, yeah, we as the audience know that Arthur and his mom are poor, but the news doesn't know that. All the news really knows is that some guy shot 3 rich guys in a clown mask, and suddenly that's enough for the entire city to suddenly take the side of the killer, without even knowing why the guy did it or let alone if he was even poor or not. I don't think it's such a bad message, but the film does such a bad job with writing it into the story. However, there's also the theory that all of this is in Arthur's head, which does make a lot of sense. Firstly, it would explain why the city suddenly takes his side over the subway murders. It would also explain why they continue to film the talk show even though Joker literally confessed to a murder live on television. It would make sense if it was in his head because after he confesses to the murder, he gives this whole big speech about society. It would also make sense because the film does establish that Arthur is delusional and even parts of the story were already in his head to begin with. If all of this really is in his head, then I just fail to see what we're supposed to take away from the story, other than the fact that Arthur is crazy, which would be established either way. But if all of this is real, then that just makes the film's writing seem kind of lazy in my opinion. And yeah, things do happen to Arthur after the subway murders, but it doesn't even matter because like I said, the whole city instantly took his side after that, so it wouldn't even matter what happened after that. Now let's compare this movie to a movie called Parasite, which you probably have heard of because it was both nominated and won Best Picture at the Oscars last year. Parasite tackles a really similar message about poverty, but it actually does it in a way that makes much more sense to the story. The decisions made by the characters actually make a lot of sense and feel more genuine. Unlike Joker, the movie's not afraid to take risks and be dark. Like I said, both Parasite and Joker aim for a very similar message, but Parasite actually writes it well into the story while Joker does not. Joker feels like it's loosely based off its message because of how poorly it establishes it into the story. Parasite is entirely based off its message. It establishes very well from the beginning and it continues on throughout the story. And unlike Joker, you feel like you've learned something. You feel like you've come out a changed person in the end. At the end of Joker, it just sort of ends. You just feel sort of confused and kind of let down in a way. Joker had all the right pieces for a really great character study, but it just didn't really live up to any of those expectations. The film didn't even have to be based off the Joker, and it would have been just fine, but because it was based off the Joker, the writers obviously knew that they would have their audience either way, so obviously a lot of people would praise it no matter how poorly written it is. This letterbox review pretty much sums it up. If you've never swam in the ocean, then of course the pool seems deep. Most people who watch comic book movies and blockbusters are obviously going to be blown away by this movie because they haven't really witnessed anything really well written and deep. I'm not saying you can't like this movie, and if you like this movie, that's fine and more power to you, but you have to agree that the writers somewhat already knew that this movie would be praised even if it wasn't even that good. I mean, they already have the great cast, amazing score, and beautiful cinematography, and plus it's based off a character that everyone already knows and loves, so of course they would obviously love it. Anyways, I want to pass the spotlight to my friend the Titanium Turtle, who has his own points that he would like to make on Joker himself.
Thanks Pozo for letting me be part of this video analysing Society Joker. Now I don't think Joker is as bad as people give it credit for, but I don't think it's great either. I do like the third act, and Joaquin Phoenix is as always an incredible actor, but unfortunately a lot of the cons overshadow the pros. I think a huge problem with the Joker movie is the Joker. I get what they're going for, but the Joker has always been a character of mystery. That's why you see him in The Dark Knight, you get chills as he constantly weaves his own origin that leaves you guessing. But since this is an origin story, one of the reasons Joker fails is because it loses what makes the character so engaging and dangerous. Now, let's get the obvious out of the way. Yes, this is clearly a ripoff of Taxi Driver and The King Comedy. You can defend Joker all you want, but the blatant, unjustified plagiarism shouldn't go unnoticed. Again, Joker fails because, unlike Travis in Taxi Driver, we know that Joker is a villain. He's a bad guy. And that's probably why I like the third act. We see the Joker finally become the Joker and embrace that. From the start of the film, Arthur is already established as someone with mental health problems, and the audience is supposed to feel shocked when he does all those terrible things, like stalk his neighbour. But while yes, you could get something out of the first time through a few rewatches, it loses that impact. Also, I think a reason why Travis is so great as a character is because he's believable. Travis is someone who seems real, but his unsocial behaviour, like bringing a girl to a porno, sets him apart from being the rest of society. But for Joker, it's well established he's apart from society due to his mental illness. It's audience bait, so people can start talking about it, and well, it worked. People started talking about the movie so much, it's getting a sequel now, even though the first ended completely fine. I don't know, but as I said, the film isn't that bad. It's fundamentally flawed. Anyway, thanks Pozo for letting me be part of this video, and follow my socials on the screen. And they'll probably be in the description as well. I don't know how Pozo's gonna do this, but yeah. Thanks for hearing what I had to say. Back to Pozo and Alan Z.
Thanks so much to Titanium for being a part of this video, and like he said, links to both his Instagram and his YouTube channel will be in the description down below. With that said, that's really all I have to say about Joker. Like I said, it's not necessarily a bad movie, but it's just a really mediocre and sort of disappointing movie. Like I said, it's very well made, but its writing easily holds it back from being anything really amazing, and that's really disappointing because I really think this movie could have been a lot better if its writing wasn't so abysmal. Overall, I give Joker a 5.5 out of 10. Thank you guys all so much for watching, and if you enjoyed, please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys all next time.